Hello, it's my birthday month. I don't think I've ever shared the deep fear that I have of getting older. Every time my birthday month comes by, I feel like I haven't done enough. Like I try to look back on the year and my brain automatically locks down and says, "No, you did nothing. I don't know why you're looking back." And that is a lie because our brains don't often tell us the truth, okay? And this year, while I'm trying to calm my brain and my body down, I thought that instead of ignoring our age, I would try and process this fear that I'm not enough. I would try to process it, to channel it into making something. Something that I'm going to use and something that teaches me. Well, something. And in order to hold myself accountable, I thought I would share that journey with you. One of the things that I've been meaning to learn more about is Tunisian crochet. We finished our Pilson blanket, and that has a completely separate vlog and blog if you want to check it out. So, of course, I thought that now that we finished such a large blanket, we are ready to tackle a garment. I know, we're really jumping the curve here. We started with a worsted weight blanket and now we're moving to fingering weight yarn and a garment. You beautiful people know that I love crocheting garments and I love rescuing yarn as well because in our closet purge we found many yarns that needed to be rescued from garments that I simply don't use. It's not that I don't love them. It's not that I don't care for them. It's not that I didn't enjoy making them. It's that I don't use them. And so one of those garments that I don't use is a V-stitch raglan top. When I was doing the tutorial series for the V-stitch, I decided to break that down into learning the V-stitch, then learning how to increase in the V-stitch and practicing each of these skills that we learned. And the ultimate make for that was supposed to be a vintage waves raglan garment. And while I loved making it, I love the yarn that I use, I love the process of it, and there are some lovely memories attached to this project because I crocheted it in 2024 when I was in Puerto Rico with my mom, and I was stitching away as she was undergoing chemo. So there are strong memories attached to this make, but I simply do not reach for it. So let's go gather our supplies and rescue our V-stitch raglan from our pile of doom and get started. Oh, and talk about the pattern a little bit as well. We're back at my desk. As you saw, we've gathered our supplies for the evergreen tank. Now, this is a design by Stacy of Bah Humble, and I think the first time I came across it, I was catching up with Texan Jen, I believe that's her Instagram handle, and she had crocheted one and I just loved the look of it. So I decided to why not try crocheting our own version of this evergreen tank. It uses 565 yards of fingering weight yarn and a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, or of course size needed to obtain gauge. Okay, so for sizing, size 0 is a 32-inch bust and size 1 is a 34-inch bust. I think I'm going to go with size 1 because a bust size of 38 inches seems a little bit excessive for my body, but of course, we should probably make all these decisions after we do a gauge swatch. While I sort of unbox this Tunisian crochet hook set that my mom lent me, and I'm loving the feel of these hooks. They are inline crochet hooks, but through my previous experience with Tunisian crochet, I find that I actually don't mind inline crochet hooks for Tunisian crochet. But when it comes to traditional crochet, I need my tapered hooks. I just can't do inline. Anyway, for the evergreen tank, we need a 5.5mm crochet hook that we are going to pair with a cable at the end, and we're going to be using this 5.5mm crochet hook to work with fingering weight yarn. So that's going to be a little bit challenging for me. I always find that when you use really thin yarn with a large hook, my gauge tends to be wibbly wobbly all over the place. But again, that's why we're doing a swatch, just to find out how we are going to behave through this process. While I frog back this top, let me tell you a little bit more about the yarn. I don't remember the exact colorway it is, but this yarn was dyed by the lovely Anna of Stitchcraft and Wizardry. She was an indie dyer from Perth, Australia, and unfortunately I can't link her anywhere. Well, I can link the website. The website is still live, but all her social media accounts have closed, and I don't think she's dyeing any longer, but you can check out some of what she used to do and some of her patterns over on the website. I absolutely loved Anna's yarn. Anna's yarn is just so plump and soft, and she always had it's just the best eye for color and color combinations. And I always found that she did the right amount of speckles to look good in crochet. So I do miss being able to purchase yarn from Anna, and I hope that she comes back someday because it's a bit of a loss. Okay, I'm going to continue frogging, well, finding the end that I wove in, then frogging back this top so that we can get started on our swatch. Okay, now that we have a little bit of slack from the yarn, let's find out what's the gauge. Okay, stitch count, great, but is the gauge blocked or unblocked? That's a good question. I'm going to assume it's the blocked gauge, but it's always nice when the pattern indicates whether it's blocked or unblocked. Okay, and it's made in Tunisian simple stitch. Do I remember? Okay, first impressions. I really hate having a cable attached to my end of the hook. It's really throwing off my gauge. Uh, I hope I get used to it. And also, probably this yarn's very crinkly. That's not helping. Probably should have washed it and dried it before using it, but I'll just settle for blocking my gauge swatch. So going to be here a while. Welcome back, darlings. Our crochet was interrupted by a cold. You can still hear it. I'm all stuffed, but the fever has passed, and that brain fog that you get also passed. In the meantime, we have completed a gauge swatch. Kind of matches my outfit today. The gauge swatch has been blocked and laid flat to dry. The stitches aren't looking as neat as I had hoped, and my gauge, unsurprisingly, is looser than that of the pattern. I am off by 1 stitch and 1 row. I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially because size 1 is 34 inches, so I'm expecting that with the variation in my gauge, it'll probably be closer to 35.5 inches. I am okay with that fit. Now let's actually read the rest of the pattern. I have a question. When you're starting a pattern, do you read through the whole pattern first, or do you read section by section? I tend to like variety, so sometimes I read section by section, and sometimes I read the whole pattern through, just to write down if there's anything that I don't actually know and I need to look up. In this case, I need to look up how to work up the Tunisian extended simple stitch and the Tunisian knit stitch. I've never done these before, so sorry, we can't start yet. We need to go to YouTube.
Between those bars, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now I can go to my next stitch, inserting my hook between those bars.
Now I know you saw me settle in yesterday with Miss Tony Lipsy, but I didn't actually practice the knit stitch, so I thought before we frog back this swatch, I want to do a couple rows of knit stitch to get into the rhythm of it, and then we can properly proceed with starting our evergreen tank. Right off the bat, one of the things that I'm changing of this evergreen tank, or probably any future Tunisian crochet project that I start, I greatly disliked working into a chain or starting with a chain. So I'm just going to do foundation single crochet for the final stitch count that is recommended in the pattern, and then I'm going to pick up stitches from there. I need a break. This takes. It's a little annoying. I was getting a little bit frustrated with how slow going casting on for our evergreen tank was, so I thought it was only proper that we take a little baking break. Here I'm experimenting with rolls. They were supposed to be blueberry lemon curd rolls, and I think I made the bread a little bit too bready. It would have been benefited from being softer, and I definitely need to work on my jam consistency. But let's let these proof, and then we can sit down and enjoy a little treat with a cup of tea. As I said in the very beginning of the video, I'm using this Tunisian crochet project to retrain my brain, to reframe my mindset. And whenever I catch myself in any negative self-talk, I pick up this project and I repeat a series of affirmations that stand out to me in that moment to help shift my brain from a lack negative mentality into a more abundant positive mentality. And so far, I'm really liking this approach. Of course, I not only picked up this Tunisian crochet project for this, but I am simultaneously working on a wrap that I'm calling my I Am Enough wrap, because I'm also using that wrap to affirm these positive beliefs. At the beach, I literally pulled out the project to show you, and I think I did like 2 rows, but it's okay. It's still my birthday, and I'm gonna spend the rest of this day sitting here working on this with you. Hi, it's been a while. I love all the individual components of this shawl. This is the Hotel of Bees shawl, but I will never understand the asymmetrical shawl trend. There's just not a comfortable way to wear these shawls. And it's a shame because, look, she's beautiful, glorious. I love all the individual components, and sometimes I'm tempted to just follow the pattern without doing any of the shaping for the asymmetrical portion of it and just enjoying. Okay, I'm gonna stop fiddling with this because this vlog is about the Tunisian crochet tank top. So we're well on our way, I think, to finishing the shaping for this tank top. I need to count my stitches, and I did do some adjustments. Let's flip the camera around to show you. These wiggly portions are the extended Tunisian stitch. And then here I just started the shaping for the armhole area, and I think I eliminated one whole repeat of this Tunisian extended single just because I noticed that the finished top was a lot longer than what I wanted. So all in all, before I started my shaping for the decreases, I made sure that the body of the top was 8 inches. I think it's actually closer to 8.25, but I think that when that blocks out, it will definitely get to 8.75 inches. So I'm not too concerned. And in fact, I am indeed super, super happy with how she is looking. Also, I'm finding it so effective to just repeat affirmations while stitching away on this top, as well as in my I Am Enough wrap. I'm finding it super soothing and super healing. So yeah, definitely might be a practice that I continue going forward. You know, stitching positivity into every single garment that I can. In addition to stitching positive affirmations into my Tunisian garment and my shawl, some days I find myself lighting a little candle and setting an intention for the day. So the candle kind of symbolizes that intention. And then I sit down and I stitch away on either the top that I'm working on or the shawl that you will see much later. And I repeat that intention as I stitch away 5 to 10 minutes, and it really sets the tone for my day. You know, some days are easier than others. Some days we are 100% and some days we are 40%, but we give that whole 40% anyway. So yeah, I'm finding it really, really beautiful to genuinely stitch with intention. Could I take notes in the actual, PDF document? Yes. Do I still need a notebook? Yes. Okay, so now we just have to work until we like the length of the top. She suggests 5 rows. I think I'm going to do the suggested 5 rows, and then we'll block this panel just to see if I need to do more rows. Sensible. I like it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. I will see you after blocking. As promised, I am back after having blocked the little tank top, and I absolutely love how it's looking. It's the perfect summer tank top in my opinion, and I'm very happy that I chose this. Now, I will say, after having finished one whole panel and blocked it, I still don't really like working with fingering weight yarn and such a big hook. However, I think I mentioned this before, I think that's partly due to the fact that this yarn is super, super crinkly when you're working back from a finished project that you're frogging as you go. Okay, that was overly complicated. Let's rewind and try again. That I am working from something that I'm frogging back, and I didn't actually frog all that project bag and then soak it like is recommended, so that you can loosen the yarn again and have a nicer yarn to work with. However, I'm just gonna kind of tuck this under my bra 1 second so we can get a look. I still think she's glorious, and the stitches, I'm gonna give you a closer look. I think I need to block this again and really pin them and open them up much more than I did, so that you can really see the difference between the extended Tunisian simple stitch and then the normal Tunisian simple stitch. But I love it, absolutely love it, and I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than the pattern intended, but that's okay. I did that willingly. Like, I chose size 1 willingly, so I'm not blaming the pattern for that at all. That was my own decision. However, I will say, I already measured this and it is 18 inches wide, so I think that just by picking up some stitches around the side of the garment, just doing single crochet around all the side, I think that will give me enough of a width to add a little bit more drape to the garment, and I'm very excited. And of course, the other thing that I can do, since this is just the first panel, I can make this my back panel, because our bodies, we tend to be flatter around the back than at the front. So I could technically have this be my back panel and then simply make my front panel 2 or 3 stitches wider. Okay, I'm gonna go read the pattern and find out if the front and back panel are exactly the same, because if they are, that's the choice I'm going with. Toodles. The front and back panel are crocheted exactly the same, so we can get cozy for a full afternoon of crochet and proceed with our plans. Just as with the first panel, I decided to do foundation single crochet stitches to start off this remaining panel. However, contrary to working foundation single crochet stitches for a traditional crochet project, I find that when I'm working this foundation chain for Tunisian projects, I actually like to go up one hook size. So for this project, we're using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, so I'm doing my foundation in a 6 millimeter crochet hook. I find that this just gives me a neater edge and a little bit more stretch at the waistband area. Now, I have never been so frustrated working foundation single crochet stitches before. Again, I'm just blaming my crinkly yarn for this, but I actually had to step away from this project for a little bit because I was just having the most difficult time regulating my emotions and getting into a reframing thoughts mindset. So, took a step back, like I said, had a little bit of lunch, a spot of tea, and now we're just ready to continue on with our cozy crafternoon. Okay, yesterday, as you saw, we got super cozy and we spent the afternoon stitching away on our evergreen tank, and hopefully we also spent the afternoon saying positive affirmations to ourselves. I know they can feel silly, trust me, I know. And it took a long time before I was able to even look at myself in the mirror and say positive affirmations to about me and the work I do and just my life in general. But I absolutely loved having a dedicated, actually 2 projects. I've dedicated 2 entire projects to stitching positive affirmations in them. And that really helped retrain my brain into, you don't have to be ashamed for thinking good things about yourself. You don't have to feel embarrassed for thinking good things about yourself. So it worked. I guess that's the whole point I'm trying to say. It worked because you know that at the very beginning of this video, I said that I wanted to cast on a project that would help me reframe that negativity I have towards not feeling enough, and practice neuroplasticity and these techniques to help reframe our brains and form new positive pathways that just lead us towards a more abundant life. And it's working. I can now fully catch myself when my brain tries to spiral. And you know, some days are better than others. Some days I catch myself early, and some days I do spiral quite a bit before I'm like, no, we practice this. Okay, so I highly recommend casting on a project with intention if you are struggling with anything in your life at the moment. And best of all, I know there are many designers, myself included, that are creating designs geared towards dealing with feelings of grief or towards positivity or any of this. I know that Chelsea of Knitting Tipsy, she has her healing wrap. I think it's 2 of Wands, has a affirmations wrap, and that one is knit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I know it's knit. I'm gonna try and remember. I'll put the picture and the name here. And then I'm also working up on what I'm calling the You Are Enough wrap. And it's a simple 2-row repeat where we can use stash yarns. We can do whatever we want with that as long as we are stitching positive affirmations into the shawl so that it helps us deal with any big feelings that we are carrying. And yeah, but anywho's, that took us into a whole other turn. Let's get back to our evergreen tank. Now, the evergreen tank, did I like the pattern? Yes, it's very clearly written. The only thing that I would say is that I would have greatly appreciated having a very clear, like half a page at least, picture of the top without being styled, like the model just wearing the top without a jacket on top or anything like that, so that we could really appreciate the fit of the top, of the tank top. And then that would have given me a better idea of where maybe I would have wanted to do some additional shaping, or maybe if I wanted to make the straps a little bit shorter. But again, that's just, to me, that would have been a great bonus. As the pattern is written, I think that it's very easy to follow. Yeah, I greatly enjoyed it, especially the fact that I could eliminate one repeat of the Tunisian extended single stitch and the top still fits precisely how I wanted it to fit. I think that is beautiful. Now, what we crocheted yesterday up until I got distracted, and I'll explain that distraction in a little bit. What we crocheted up to yesterday, I just did the first 8 rows of the pattern, so we are well on our way to continuing the top, and I am going to continue stitching away on this in my spare time. And whenever I do complete the top, it's going to go on Ravelry, so you can check out a written details for notes, including the amount of stitches that I worked up, because I know in the video I was between size 0 and size 1, and then I said, oh no, I've cast on size 1. And as I was casting on the back panel, counting my stitches to compare to the front, I realized that I did neither. For what will become the back panel, which is this one, first one that I made, for this one I cast on somewhere between size 0 and size 1. So let's call it size 0.5. And then for the front panel, I've cast on size 1. And I think that's okay, because, you know, we need, as I said, we need more fabric in the front to accommodate for our chest and our bellies than we need in the back. So I'm not upset with that by any means, but that is something to consider. I think that's also what makes it fun when you're working with garments that are in panels, is that you can very easily combine 2 sizes to get the perfect fit for your body. So that's always very, very encouraging. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is the hooks. I think I briefly touched on the fact that I am okay using inline crochet hooks to work up Tunisian crochet projects, and I am especially super okay with these Tunisian crochet hooks. I believe these were a limited edition release with Sorella, and it was like a mini collaboration between Sorella and Tony of Teal Yarn Crafts, if I'm remembering correctly. But these hooks are super, super lovely. They have a really pointy tip so you can get into your Tunisian crochet stitches very easily. They are, it's not matte, it's more like a polished aluminum. That is the type of polished aluminum that you find in clover hooks, and those are, that's my favorite feel of metal to crochet with. So I highly recommend these. I really, really loved them. The cable did not come undone, and neither did the cable cap, but the only thing I would have appreciated is if the kit would have included 4 cables at least. So this is a really small one, but then what the kit calls a medium, I think it's a little bit too long to be a medium, and then there's a super long one which I didn't need. So I would have appreciated one size between this really short one, which I think is what, 4 inches? So maybe like a 6-inch cable or a 10-inch cable. That would have been great. But yeah, I absolutely love these hooks. I don't think Sorella makes these anymore, but Tony of Teal Yarn Crafts did release a Tunisian crochet hook set with Hobie, and they are very much like this in the sense that they're metal. They have a very pointy tip, and I believe they're also that brushed, let's call it brushed aluminum. That somehow doesn't seem right, but that's what I'm gonna call it. So hooray for a good hook experience. You already know that in terms of working fingering weight yarn with a large hook, that's not my favorite thing, because weirdly enough, when I'm working with such a small yarn and such a big hook, I tend to tighten my gauge a lot. So that's a me problem though. But overall, I think this has been a truly, truly pleasurable experience. And while I did plan on sitting here and ending the vlog with another nice, cozy crochet session so we both could unwind, I cannot. I mean, I could, but it would be sort of detrimental to my wrist. Yesterday, after we finished our little Tunisian crochet session, I decided I wanted to crochet a little something up for a friend as a thank you for them sending me a belated birthday gift, and they are a baker. So I was like, ooh, how about we do, my favorite hot pad is a thermal stitch hot pad, and I like to use my cotton double. Now for this one, I did do some stash diving, and it turns out that the 2 cottons I was holding together were an Aran weight. So together that made like a really bulky cotton, and I used an 8mm crochet hook, and that was still a bit too tight of a gauge to make this hot pad. So my wrist is suffering a lot because of course I forgot to use my therapeutic mitts. Not therapeutic, what do you call it? When they boop. Those things that I'm supposed to be using when I crochet, especially when working stuff like this, I did not use. So now I need to do a lot of hand stretches today, and I need to just do some yoga as well and not crochet, which makes me sad because I was really excited to do a lot of crocheting today. But with that, I just want to once again thank you so much for joining me for this positivity vlog. You know, I really hope that it was as enriching an experience for you as it was for me. And tell me if you worked on any projects while I was working on mine. Was it a Tunisian crochet project? Was it a knit project? Or was it crochet? Or maybe you just sat down and snacked while watching me crochet. That also works. If you did sit down and snack, what snacks were you snacking? Thank you so much for joining me for this vlog. I will see you in the next one. Happy crafting. Bye!